According to a recent survey, more and more Americans have stopped socializing. Listen to this expert talking about it on the King Charles Show. Take a look.
The Bureau of Labor Statistics has something called the American Time Use Survey, where they ask people how they spend their day. How much time do you spend cooking? How much time do you spend working? How much time do you spend socializing with people in person? And they found that in-person socializing has, for all Americans, declined by 25%. For men, declined by 30%. For non-married men, declined by 45%. And for young people and black men, declined by 50%.
Wow. DBL Nation, always want to hear from you. Are you socializing with your friends less than you used to? Go to dblvote.com to weigh in. What do you think is going on here? I mean, our viewers are going to start weighing in right now, but Jeff, it seems like that you have found that balance.
Yeah, and I don't take it for granted. I really appreciate my buddies that I have from, college and Chicago friends growing up, and my California crew and my crew here with you guys. Like, I'm very blessed to have a great group of friends and circle.
But you work at it.
Right, yes, yeah, I work at it, but I think social media has divided. I think that's the main cause of it. Obviously, the pandemic made people separate, right? But I think as you naturally get older and you have children, your circle gets tighter, right? Because you have to spend more time with your kids. You can't just go to Vegas every weekend with your old friends. You can't do that anymore. But I really think it's interesting, Erica's, I don't mean to jump the gun on the statistics, but it says 10 to 15% of men and women have no friends. And that's the exact statistic that the internet gives out. They say 10% of the people write 90% of the content. That makes sense. If you don't have any friends, you're making friends or enemies on the internet all day. That's what you're doing instead of socializing. So the numbers make sense with that. And I really think the climate that we live in politically, all that is an additional on top of why we don't hang out socially.
Well, to talk about the stats, 15% of men and 10% of women reportedly have no close friends. Honestly, I think that percentage is higher. In 1990, 55% of men reported having 5 or more close friends. In 2021, that number dropped to 27%.
Wow.
So I think that I think Jeff is right in terms of the internet, because a lot of people do. I'm not going to say just because you're on the internet. It's more so like because people build community there, but if you're solely on the internet and you're not making connections with people that are meaningful, then I think that also lends itself. I also think that people just don't know how to be friends with other people. And then the world gets in the way. Like, for instance, a lot of us don't live in the cities that we grew up in, and our families aren't around. And maybe that foundation that we had in friendship, we have to build somewhere else. And it's hard to build friendships as adults.
Yeah, well, it's hard, Erica, because, we talk about these things on the show week to week, but then we act like they just go off in the ether. We've talked so much about everybody has a second and third side gig, side hustle, whatever euphemism you want to use, but people's schedules aren't even like what they used to. Like,
right.
You're getting home at 5 o'clock, we're all meeting up at the bar. That used to be like every sitcom. They would meet at 5:30 at the bar, but now it's like Erica's driving Uber, Jeff, you're doing taxes, everybody's got something else to do. So the idea of just everybody having the same schedule and the work it takes to hook up once you guys are like already exhausted and getting older with two young kids, I think there's a lot of factors contributing, but it makes sense.
I think it's alarming and concerning. Okay, speaking of meeting up in real life, do you all remember your first date? It was probably in person, right? Well, a new survey found that 65% of people in their 20s prefer to meet up for their first time digitally. They say it's more efficient that way. What do we think of this?
Well, I remember my first day. I think I've talked about it. I took this girl to the ground. I was 16.
Okay.
I took my dad's gray Honda Accord. We went to the ground round. Shout out.
Throw peanuts on the floor.
Yeah, bro. Come on, dog. It's Midwest here. And I didn't know anything about the world because the internet wasn't coming for a long time, Erica. And old Al Jackson, when he went to pay, I was like, excuse me, I got this. Pulled out a checkbook.
Oh,
and the waiter was like, can you get out of here? And I had no money, zero cash. And I had to give the manager my driver's license, go home, get money from my dad, and come back, which I don't think she was really turned on by that.
Did you ever see that girl again?
No.
Oh.
She was cute. She was cute, too.
Do you think that you could, and I want to hear some other stories, but quickly, do you think that do you feel chemistry over online? I mean, I know a lot of people are doing it, and maybe that's a good way to vet people, but at the same time, the reason why I was first attracted to Mark was we had chemistry.
Yeah, it's a thing.
I don't know, does that translate on a phone?
I missed the whole dating online.
So did
I met
I.
my wife so long ago, 15 years ago now coming up.
20.
That I missed the whole internet thing, just swiping. I remember I'd be in California and be like, can I swipe for you? Like with my friends, it was fun.
I do that too.
But it's fun. But I don't know if you find that spark necessarily over the internet or the phone, right? I think you have to be there, that magical moment, that sitcom moment, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Rom-com, I meant.
What was your first date? I'm curious.
I don't even remember.
How do you
like, my
not
first date.
remember?
I don't remember specifically.
Like the first one that really sticks out in your mind, where you're getting in the car, you're knocking on the door, the dad comes down.
When you said getting, I was like, whoa, this is my first date. I don't remember.
Wow,
I do
Erica?
remember some girls, but not specific. When I
Yeah.
forgot my checkbook or something.
I was 16 because I wasn't allowed to date until I was 16.
I like that, Roosevelt.
Yeah. And he had to come to the door
Cute.
because he had to come in and meet my parents, and my dad talked to him. He brought flowers, and then we went to Fridays.
Cute,
Or was it
Erica.
Bennigan's? It was one of those,
Probably
like
Bennigan's.
Bennigan's
Yeah.
or
Chicago.
Fridays. Yeah.
I just like, as you were talking, Erica, I almost didn't hear what you were saying because I was just thinking, you're already scared to meet the dad. You know,
Oh, my dad
but the
plays
dad
off
is
that.
Roosevelt.
Oh,
That's who's waiting on
Yeah.
you at 16 years. And I
No.
would have.
How
I would
intimidated
have
would you?
I would rather have interview with the KGB.
My dad.
Wow.
Right.
Your dad is so intimidating
Yeah.
now. At 16, I'd be like, what if I just ran?
And I think dads get off on that. My dad did. My dad's, just like Roosevelt in the sense that, Vietnam vet, and he could not wait. He had lines. He would say, I have a shotgun and a shovel, and no one's going to miss you if you hurt my daughter. He would say that. I'm not lying.
Pre-date starting?
When they would come and meet him. And then he would take them on a four-wheeler and go on some little trip where he would duck on
He'd
certain
show them
parts.
the hole.
Maybe.
That's where you're gonna be.
Maybe. He would take them on a four-wheel ride, and then they'd come back from the four-wheel ride, and my dad would know when to duck from branches.
Did he help them out?
What do you mean?
Did he duck? Did he
I
throw
don't
one
know
out?
that. My dad did not like the idea of me
Four-wheelers,
dating
where'd you
until
grow up?
in Santa Cruz, but we grew up in a hill with property.
Isn't that so crazy? Because you're the mother of a son now. And if your son went to try to take some girl out and her dad treated your son like that,
Yeah.
you would
I
be
would
like, your daughter isn't actually special enough to be out with my son. But back then, it was like, oh, that was just the expectation. Dads threaten little boys' lives.
I know.
It was normal. Now he'd be in jail.
Yeah.
He'd be in prison. Oh my God.
Your dad threatened my son. Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you imagine when our kids are old enough to date?
No, thank
And
you.
Al, you're
I can't talk
there.
about that.
No, thank
My
you.
daughter's going to 2 proms. I'm not ready to talk.
All right. Let's see what our viewer has.
Better talk to Roosevelt and get some tips. Yeah.
Are you socializing with your friends less than you used to? It looks like 75% are socializing less, 16% about the same, and 9% more. Well, there you have it.